Well, we're back on another episode of the Fashion Hive podcast. As you can see, our background has changed once again. So huge shout out to Phil being accommodating and willing to have us.
You are welcome at my office anytime, Santos and Shaley.
Awesome. Well, for us, one of the biggest things that we strive for is consistency here at the Fashion Hive podcast. So you are going to see a lot of background changes, and that part of that is a method to our madness that we want to be out and about in the community. But we also want to be flexible. And with that, I would say no one is more flexible, at least in the last week, than Shaley has been in terms of her responding to my text and her traveling. So do you want to unpack a little bit where all you've been and where all you're going?
Yeah, so I just got back from New York City last night. I was actually on a trip with my university with the textiles department, so that was pretty fun. Traveled safe, everything was good, no lost luggage, nothing like that. But I'm actually heading out tomorrow to go to Panama City Beach, Florida, so that's really exciting. I don't even have to unpack, I just kind of got to switch some stuff out and then I'm back on the road.
Yeah.
Shaley, you mentioned university. What university is that?
University of Missouri, Columbia.
M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
What did you all just do? What is that?
That is kind of like our chant, our mantra.
Yeah.
If anybody shouts out M-I-Z, everybody's supposed to respond Z-O-U.
Yeah.
So,
and that pains me, and I'm gonna get crucified for this because grew up in Topeka and Lawrence, Kansas, was raised a Jayhawk, but now that I'm over here in Missouri, I go for both, and people are like, you can't do that, like the border war.
you got to commit.
Yeah, well, it's SEC and Big 12, so I feel like I could say that, but yeah.
So you're like in a random place, you yell out M-I-Z, and
Someone
people
will
yell
shout
out
back
Z-O-U.
Z-O-U. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
It's like Rock Chalk, and then someone else is supposed to say Jayhawk.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
All right, so you went with the Mizzou
Yeah.
fashion group
Yes.
to New York.
Yeah, so everybody else was a textile and apparel management major. That is my minor, but it was kind of odd being the only broadcast journalism student there because I kind of have a little bit of a different take on the industry, but it was really cool still getting to learn about all the different sides and aspects of the fashion industry, from manufacturing to retail, merchandising, all of that stuff. We went to all sorts of really cool places. I got to see like the showroom for DKNY and Louis Vuitton, and we also went to like the Good Housekeeping Institute. So all sorts of random different excursions.
So how many went?
There was 15 of us.
And did you have is this something in 2023, do you have like a professor that goes with you all, one of the department heads?
Yeah, so there was, we had 3 advisors, 1 main advisor, but it was cool to really kind of get to bond with them more, because since I am the only person who is a TAM minor, like I don't see everybody in class as often as everyone else, so I really got to kind of like bond with my professors a little bit more, and they got to learn a bit more about me and seeing my face around campus.
And TAM is textile and
Apparel management.
textile apparel management.
Yes.
And so everybody was a major in textile apparel management except you.
Yes.
Did you feel like TAM shamed when you were on there?
There were.
You're not good enough. That's what he's saying.
There were at some points where I was like, well, this certain like activity or this certain like profession doesn't really apply to me specifically and what I want to do. But the whole trip, like in general, like I learned so much from it, because I want to, go into reporting with a strong knowledge of fashion and the fashion industry. So I did still learn a lot from the trip, and I made a lot of really good friends on the trip too. So I think overall, like, I didn't really feel like excluded. It was just very different.
Shaley, you're media, and they're fashion.
Yeah.
So you're not. I mean, they're gonna want you involved. Did you feel like they were like asking you to post on social media? Oh, Shaley, make sure you get a get a picture of this?
We definitely were helping each other get the best Instagram photos throughout the trip. Yeah, I mean, it was cool. Some of the girls even had like journalism minors, so we were kind of on the same page a little bit about, what we like to do. So, it was still cool to like, get everybody's different experiences and perspectives.
So what does that look like? I mean, for you, I mean, you're involved in Fashion Week, and we've kind of unpacked how you kind of fell into it, but in previous episodes. But what would you say is, at Mizzou, like where do they focus on currently in fashion? Because Phil and I just went to this FGI event, and then we also attended. Several of us went and attended the Johnson County Community College. Like, does Mizzou do fashion shows? And then if so, like what does that normally look like?
So they're actually working on planning the first runway show.
Cool.
There is it's called ATAM, and it's like a student organization for TAM students. They have been working on kind of growing and doing more events on campus. So I'm not super involved in that program because I'm more involved in like journalism related programs, but I'm definitely looking forward to what they're working on next year because I want to attend, and I want to kind of see what all they're working on. So I'm definitely getting more involved.
I know that for the last 10 years, we've always had students from Mizzou's textile apparel management program that have come and helped us volunteer, ambassadors. So they've kind of helped us run the place for the last decade. So
Yeah.
It's great that they're going to do their own runway show. That'd be good to see.
Yeah, I one of my roommates in New York City actually is the president of ATAM. So she's the one that told me about what they're working on. And she told me that she's also interested in having them come out to Kansas City Fashion Week again this year to volunteer some more. So I told her, we could get that set up.
So I'm interested. What's it like going to New York with a group of about 15 fashion students?
Oh, it was so
Was it fun?
It was
Was it
so
fun?
fun. Yeah. We were all like texting each other before the trip, like, what are you gonna wear? I don't know. What are you gonna wear? So we all kind of helped each other plan around our outfits and like getting dressed together, like making sure everybody's outfit looked great every day. Like, I don't know. It was cool being like on the same page with everyone in that way because like we all definitely have like a passion for looking good and feeling our best. So.
Okay,
Yeah,
did
it was
anybody
awesome.
wear their own clothes? I don't mean they bought their own clothes.
Right.
Did anyone design and make and wear their own clothes on this trip?
In this trip, actually, no. There were more retailing and merchandising students than product development students that came. So. Not quite as many of the hands-on type of students, but we do have students like that in our program for sure. But it was a pretty small group of our whole school that came.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that I love most about Fashion Week here is you'll see designers that they go out and about and they're wearing their stuff. Again, not trying to like FGI, but we went to that FGI event, and it's so funny that I was wearing the shoes that Nita Lou, the shoes that they sell.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and so Courtney was there, and she was like, "Oh my gosh," I was like, "Look what I'm wearing." But even then, like River, like every time I see him, he's always wearing his clothes, and so that was interesting to hear that. Like you said, it wasn't necessarily developmental students that were there, but that they weren't wearing anything. But that's a perspective I hadn't thought about. As like. They're like going out and about in a different city. It's one thing to wear it here, but like imagine in a different city.
Yeah.
Yeah, being in the fashion mecca.
Mm.
Okay, so you went, you had a great time. What was the favorite thing that you saw? Santos, I might have mentioned it, but I was texting Shaley yesterday.
Okay.
And Shaley texts me and she says, well, I'm at the Met right now, and she shows me a picture of a display there. And so it's like, what was your favorite thing about New York?
I would probably say it was the Met for sure. We went to the Karl Lagerfeld exhibit. And that was just so insane because, you know, I watched the Met Gala runway, you know, red carpet, I mean, just a couple weeks ago. And I saw all the videos of all the celebrities going through the exact same, like, exhibit that I was walking through. And I was like, oh my God, I just saw Doja Cat right where I'm standing right now. So that was pretty awesome because I've always wanted to go to the Met Gala. So being there 2 weeks later was almost as cool.
That's
great.
awesome.
That's good. Did the group break away from the professors and like go out and hit the town in New York?
Yeah, we did. We had like every evening to do whatever we wanted. So me and my roommates would kind of go on some excursions together, and sometimes we would meet up as a big group with everybody. We wanted to, like, you know, see all the different neighborhoods. We went to Brooklyn. We went to Little Italy. We went to Times Square almost every night. So it was cool.
Hey, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm old. What was your favorite meal while you were in New York? What was your favorite little cafe?
Does that make you old for
Yeah, it
asking
makes
that?
me old for asking.
Well,
yeah.
I'm either old or I'm a foodie because I was wondering the same thing.
Okay, my favorite meal was when we went to Little Italy, I got chicken parm, and it was a delicious chicken parmesan. It was so good.
Chicken parm in Little Italy. That does
Yeah.
sound pretty good.
Yeah, it was great. That night we had like a bunch of people from our group there. Not everybody, but almost everybody. So that night was really fun because it was like a big group bonding moment.
Nice. And when did you get back to town?
Last night.
And you're here today.
Yeah, so I drove from St. Louis to Columbia last night, and then from Columbia to Kansas City a couple hours ago.
How exciting.
And then you'll be back in the Eastern time zone in Florida.
Yep, in 24 hours.
Yeah, that's nice.
All right.
Well, I know the last time you and I talked, you were talking about all your trips. I did actually book a trip. I'm going to the Bahamas.
Oh,
so
yes.
That'll be fun. I'm
What
excited.
are you going to do in the Bahamas, Santos?
Relax.
So it's a straight vacation.
Yeah, straight vacation.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, it's weird. Like, I went to AHR in Atlanta, you know, in February, and so that was cool. And then I went to SEMA in Vegas last November. So normally when I travel, it's for business, and then now teeing up for the Fashion Week cruise.
Yeah, Fashion Week cruise in October.
In October.
Yeah.
So, and our rooms are booked for that. So shout out Bailey because she has been keeping me in the loop for all of that. So
Yep. And you're actually going to do Fashion Hive podcast
yes,
from there, right?
So excited. We're gonna have to be sitting on the Lido. Are you going?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Of
so
course.
you're gonna hear a lot of wind background noise when we do one of our episodes, just because we're gonna be sitting on the Lido deck recording an episode. So
Yeah, that's excellent.
yeah, it'll be a lot of
That is
fun.
excellent.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Grand Turk, Half Moon Key.
Mm-hmm.
Where else? Nassau, Half Moon Key, Grand Turk.
And then a fun day at sea. Well, I mean, like, I've been on a cruise, but like, is it really a fun day at sea? Like,
Oh,
I'd rather
it's
be
so
out.
fun.
I'd rather be out and about, like on the land.
No, you wouldn't.
No, not with the fashion.
No, you need one fun day at sea
Okay.
to just sit on the deck
course.
and have lots of margaritas.
And
Drink package.
during the KCFW Adventures cruise, there's always photo shoots going on during the fun day at sea.
Yeah.
I mean, the photographers arrange with models, and models grab photographers, and it's like, oh, look what I'm wearing, shoot me.
Yeah.
And so there's always photo shoots going on. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, do you ever partake in said photo shoots?
You know what I do? Sometimes this is really true. I am like a pack mule for photographers.
Okay.
So like last time I was assigned to Jason Atherton,
Okay.
our VP, and so I walked around carrying his equipment, and if anybody needed, somebody to carry a bag or something. So I followed that group around as they did their photo shoot, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Mhm.
all right,
I think that's my role,
probably.
but that's all right. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But you're actually, are you gonna be in some of the shoots?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were in some of them last time, though.
Yeah, that's my favorite side of the camera to be on. So.
Okay.
Is that right? Is that right?
Yes.
You prefer to be
Right in front of it.
in front of the camera?
Like I am
rather
right
than-
now.
Dead center.
Well, and I suppose that goes into the journalism major.
Yeah.
But you're comfortable in front of the camera. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, I've been pretty much in front of a camera or stage my whole life.
You said on the last Fashion Hive, when you were introducing, that you started walking for Fashion Week when you were 14.
Yeah, that was in 8th grade.
My lands.
It was so fun. I didn't know, like, for sure, it was my first audition. And it was a messy audition, to be honest, but Lane helped me. She kind of gave me some tips, told me, like, oh, maybe spit out your gum first. Like, don't do that. And I was like, oh, yeah, good point. So it was cool. It was fun. And it also helped me get my first job when I was 16. So, yeah, because I walked for Maurice's. And she was like, when you turn 16, come back and I'll hire you.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You were teeing it up, Phil. Go ahead. You're
No,
ready
no,
for it.
Man, I've got all kinds of questions. And
Lawyer Phil is ready with questions.
Always, yeah. Isn't it true? No, I'm just kidding. I will not cross-examine. Okay, so I am interested to know how you all not got involved with Fashion Week, because I understand how both of you got involved in Fashion Week. But how did you develop this interest in the fashion industry itself? Okay, like you're a minor in fashion.
Yeah.
You're a minor. How did you come into that? Just I want to do this. I have a passion for it. And Santos, I mean, look at you. You're on the planning team of one of the largest fashion events in the nation outside New York.
Yeah.
And you're doing the Fashion Hive. How did that happen for you? So, Santos, I would like to hear your story, and then I want to hear Shaley's.
Yeah.
So get ready, Shaley.
Well, I think it's it's always an interesting path with me, because I always tell people, and I've fortunately been very blessed with the jobs and the opportunities I've had in my life to know someone who's associated with, whatever organization or job that I'm applying in. And so that kind of gives me a leg up. But, I was helping you and helping you in Fashion Week, and that's how I met you, and that's kind of how we started interacting. And I was on the phone with you probably weekly, and then you were like, hey, there's going to be a show, you should try and attend. And so getting into that realm, at least with Fashion Week, it was definitely because I knew you. But my love for fashion, or how I've fallen into the fashion industry even more, I will say, like, I was someone, even in middle school and high school, that I always wanted to dress up. Always wanted to dress up. I wanted to look nice. Like, I was one of those weird students that was wearing slacks or wearing khakis when everyone else is wearing gym shorts or cargo shorts or whatever else. And don't get me wrong, I still wear those too, but I just always liked looking professional. Always liked button-up shirts and different things like that. And so that's kind of where I've fallen into that. But then even now with Fashion Week, it's definitely something where I really enjoy supporting the local designers. I'm a big support local, support your friends. That's my life mission.
And I got to know you through your work with Congressman Sam Graves' office,
Sure.
who is the congressman for here, and we are at the Kansas City Fashion Week World Headquarters
Sure, yeah.
at 1220 North Ambassador.
Yeah.
How did your office colleagues react when you said, oh, by the way, I'm going to start getting involved with Fashion Week? I mean, what was that like?
They were supportive. I think it's one of those things that there's definitely this, idea of firebrand politics, and we can dive into that, or we could. I'm not going to, but we could dive into that. And for me, they were supportive. And I think it's something that at the end of the day, it was, if I wanted to continue on with Fashion Week, and it was never said, but it's, it's that idea of political ideology, has nothing to do with that office. Love that office. They were extremely great. They were extremely supportive.
Yeah.
But I think as I was going to start continuously staying involved, I was with you guys for 3 seasons, and it was like, if I was going to stay involved, we're talking about an environment that is so inclusive and so diverse. We were talking about it off screen in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
And some of my best friends don't agree with me politically. And that's, I think, the bigger call to action that I have with a lot of my friends and a lot of my family is like, even if we don't agree, we could still sit down and have a meal together. And there's some of that, like, you cannot,
sure.
right? Like, there are people out there that you
Yeah.
will never be able to have that conversation with. But, like, being able to interact with all of my peers in Fashion Week, like, we don't talk politics.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That people have this conception of Fashion Week that all we do is we just sit around, we talk left-wing politics.
Sure.
But we don't. I
Mhm.
mean, we never talk politics at Fashion Week.
Right.
And, okay, and I want to just mention this. When you and I got to know each other, we were talking about the business of the fashion
Sure.
industry.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a common, what I want to say, rallying point
Mhm.
of the left, or more liberal and conservatives around the fashion industry, is that it's about the business of the fashion industry
Mhm.
and wanting to promote local businesses and all.
Yeah. Well, and it's like one of those things that, sure, if you don't agree with someone's politics, and maybe that is their brand, because there are people
Yeah,
like that's their
that's right.
brand, both conservatives and conservatives and liberals. That may be their brand, and you don't have to support them. Like, that's it. Like, you don't have to go shop at their shop. You don't have to. I'm not saying, go boycott, whatever, but I'm saying, like, if you so choose, you don't have to support them. Just like the same thing, like, if you want to support local Missouri businesses, you're going to support local Missouri businesses.
Yeah.
Has nothing against the other 49 states. Has nothing against China or Canada
No.
or Mexico. You're just supporting Missouri.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things, like, it's all about what you want to support. And I think that's kind of, like, for me, it's supporting my friends, supporting local, supporting all of that. And
Right.
so it is an interesting dichotomy, though, where, because it's like, where does that line drawn? Like, of, are you pro-business or are you left? Like,
Yeah,
so let's
right.
raise the taxes. And so it's like, I don't know, that's always interesting. But I think, one of the other things that I would love to say is, like, just as much as people want to, like, ask me, like, ooh, do you really enjoy, like, your time with Fashion Week? Or why do you do that? Or it doesn't fit your political ideology. Just as welcoming as they are of everyone else, people know that I'm conservative, and they still are willing to invite me out and
Sure.
sit down and have a dinner with me or
Right.
whatever. But even then, like, I'm one of those people that, again, like I said, my politics I don't let my politics, because at the end of the day, politics only go so far, right? It has nothing to do with who you are as a person, like a
Yeah.
kindness of your soul. And that's where I am with it.
Well, and working with a group of people whose unifying mission is the promotion of businesses in the industry,
Mhm.
that cuts through a lot. There isn't a lot of time to argue about ideology.
Mhm.
We're arguing about making businesses successful, and that's a nice conversation to have.
Well, and I think it's one of those things, like, look at what Kansas City Fashion Week does. Kansas City Fashion Week allows for designers to put their idea forth in front of, the team. And then
Yeah.
the team, really 9.99 times out of 10, it's always, their construction ability. It's their idea is, like, what they're going to bring to the runway has nothing necessarily to do with the message. And I say that because, like, if we were to sit here and say, oh, well, the message of Fashion Week is we're going to be so urban, then we would be excluding, some of our designers that come from Wichita or
Yeah, certainly.
Western Kansas or whatever. And I think that's a really one thing that sets Kansas City Fashion Week apart
I agree.
is that, and the other side of it is, like, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but, we could talk politics forever here in the United States. But the designer last season, who held up the signs. Well, and the year before it was, or the season before it was Ukraine, supporting Ukraine. There was that designer.
Right, yeah.
And then this last time it was,
Natalia.
I don't know why I'm blanking, but she held up the signs for the victims, the female victims in the Middle East.
Right.
And to bring awareness to that. So, again, you can have a message, you can have an ideology, you can have whatever you want to have, but at the end of the day, it's under that same industry. And I think, even Shaley was talking about it off screen earlier when we were kind of unpacking how this podcast episode was going to go, was like, her path to broadcasting may be a little bit different, but that's also going to give her a leg up in other instances as well. Uh-huh. And so I think that's another aspect of it. Like, your background is a huge component of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so. and one of the wonderful things about Fashion Week that we've been able to capture is to have students like Shaley come from all different backgrounds and see how we as a fashion community rally around all the businesses that want to be a part of this marketing mechanism called Fashion Week. And so when Shaley becomes a broadcaster and is in front of the camera, what is really great is that she has seen all the different aspects of the fashion industry and how to promote them, how to speak their language, so to speak. And so what makes you unique as a broadcaster, Shaley? I mean, you're very good at it, you're smooth, I mean, you're knowledgeable, you're insightful.
Well, thank you.
What do you bring that is unique that you're able to use and you want to use to develop your career?
I think what makes me good at it is that I just like to talk to people. I like to, hear their stories, but I mean, I don't know. I guess that's not quite unique. I guess that's why everyone likes journalism, but
well, I don't know. I've met some journalists that like to do the talking rather than listen.
Well, I'm very media focused, like digitally, social media, what's popular now and what's trending. So I'm less interested in like broadcasting, like your morning news, and more so like what's trending right now, what's going on in pop culture, the entertainment industry, what movies coming out, what is, what's the latest actress wearing on the red carpet. That's what I love, and that's really what I want to focus on in my career. So having a really solid knowledge of the fashion industry and having I'm actually minoring in it, and so I have a good formal education about textiles and apparel manufacturing and how this amazing gown can possibly come together from a pattern and from a sketch even. So I'll be able to point these things out whenever I'm a red carpet reporter, and I can be like, oh, well, this dress, I can tell it was made with, whatever. So.
Sorry.
No, I think that, one of the things that you just mentioned was the social media aspect. And,
mm-hmm.
and for those of you that don't know, we've talked about, kind of who all you're going to see on the podcast and different things like that. But a lot of it is the behind the scenes, especially when you're running a podcast and running a
Sure.
social media account.
Sure.
And so, Facebook, it's a little bit harder to see kind of the mission that you have with the post, but then Instagram where you can see the grid layout. So do you want to unpack that a little bit as to what you're doing with the social media, if people haven't caught on already?
Yeah, so if you follow us on Instagram, which is at Fashion Hive Podcast, you'll probably notice that our layout kind of has a grid of yellow posts and black posts, every other kind of a checker board pattern, which I just thought would be a really cool way to kind of make our feed look really nice. Because I love Canva. I'm a Canva Pro subscriber, because everything.
We need to get sponsored by them.
Yeah, seriously, should be. I just love how easy it makes for me to put a whole Instagram feed together, and I can make sure I'm using the same colors, fonts, patterns, shapes, like I use a lot of black and white images, so those are kind of the things that I'm thinking about whenever I'm making our Instagram feed. I've done Instagram accounts for like different things that I've participated in, like in college, so like certain like student organizations I've worked on our Instagram posts. I like Instagram's like kind of my favorite like social media platform. That's what I'm the most comfortable with. So I really love working on our Instagram. Like that's probably comes the most natural to me, I'd say.
And it shows.
Yeah.
I mean, like the interactions that we have, they're always timely posts. You know, I think that's part of social media is making sure that it's not getting swallowed up by whoever's next or that next post or whatever. So yeah, no, I think you do a great job.
It's very intentional, isn't it? I mean, you don't just throw up an Instagram post.
No, never. I always make sure that I'm using like consistent fonts, consistent colors. Like it's not just yellow. Like I'm clicking the exact shade of yellow. You know, like I have it all planned out.
Shaley needs to teach a master class on Canva.
I could.
That could be your side hustle.
There you go.
I could, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, so, you know, we've unpacked a little bit of kind of your and I's history and different things like that. One of the things that I've always been curious, Phil, and I'm sure a lot of people here in the industry who are tuning into this are also interested in, and it'll be its own episode for sure, but do you want to give a little insight or a little background on how Fashion Week originally got started?
Oh, how it got started. Well, it got started from a need in the Kansas City fashion community to have a marketing event for the fashion industry that was not a charity show and was not part of a larger entertainment focus. So we wanted to get it out of the nightclubs and out of just being a fundraiser for a very worthy cause, whatever that is, and actually do an event that was focused on the business of fashion design and merchandising. And then all of the other industries that come along with that, whether that's photographer, model, style teams, salons. So back in 2010, I was representing a bunch of people in the industry because I was working with some fashion event planners. And I got a bunch of clients together, Santos. Literally, this was it. I mean, it was no more exciting than this. Had a happy hour in Parkville with 4 or 5 clients and said, you know, Kansas City doesn't have one of these fashion weeks that is actually focused on the business side of the industry. If you creatives, and there was like designers, boutique owners, salons, photographers, if you creatives would like to start it, I'll stay behind the scenes. I will never become the face of Fashion Week.
You're sitting on an episode.
As I'm sitting on a podcast. And I'll do everything I can to support the effort, do everything behind the scenes. And that's how it started. And the creatives in the industry said, all right, we'll give it a go. And then, so we started slowly. We intentionally started slowly and then just built it from there.
Yeah.
And it was soon thereafter that we were ready to go to the next step. And I talked to a friend of mine and I said, I'm looking for somebody to kind of come in and partner and take this thing to the next step that really knows what they're doing. And couldn't think of anybody, and my friend said, you know, there's this young woman who is really energetic and she's smart, she's a model, she's in the industry, business savvy, her name is Tisha Barber. And that is how I was referred to Tisha. And so the rest, they say, is history.
It's history. Well, and that's one of the things, you know, Shaley and I were talking about this, again, off camera, but, you know, one of the things that we're super excited about is there's a lot of moving parts this season with Fashion Week, and it's starting early this year.
It is starting
super early.
Yeah.
And so For those of you who maybe tune in a little bit irregularly, as I slaughter that word, I can roll my R's, but I can't say them in English, which is weird. Don't know how that works, but for those of you who don't tune in all the time or tune in every other episode, there's going to be a lot of major announcements coming soon. And we're super excited to have Phil and Tisha on. We're going to have their own episode.
That's 2 weeks.
And yeah, so here in a couple weeks, it's going to be a great time. And there's going to be a lot of exciting news. But we're also going to be able to go through and talk about some things that with Fashion Week that maybe you guys have some questions about. So again, this is where we were talking about. This is an excellent opportunity with the podcast and with our social media for you to ask questions. Bring up ideas, anything of that sort, because not everyone gets to sit down with Phil. Not everyone gets to sit down with Tisha, especially you, Phil, because you are such behind the scenes.
Did you just offend me?
No,
Santos?
I'm saying because you're behind the scenes.
Calling me out?
Well, and it's like, sometimes 2-day text responses.
Isn't that the industry standard? Are you saying you actually get a response from me?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but so again, there's some excellent opportunities coming down the pipeline for all of our guests and for everyone who's interested in Fashion Week to ask any questions you may have. And as always, that's what we're here for. But we also talked about this, with the history and the timeline. Did you ever see Fashion Week having a podcast?
Santos, I can honestly say that one of the things that was never on the radar was a start date for the Fashion Week podcast. There was never a discussion.
Started so slow that wasn't even. Did they even have podcasts back when you started?
No, they didn't. But man, we were on MySpace.
Oh, okay.
When we were first starting, we were on MySpace.
Shaley?
Yeah.
Do you think you could bring back the MySpace social media page?
What's your MySpace page look like, Shaley?
I never had a MySpace. I am too young for that.
But you did hear about it, right?
Oh yeah, I've heard tales from my grandmother and
Yeah.
my ancestors about
Yeah.
MySpace and how that went.
I am going to shout. I'm going to call you out on my MySpace page,
Oh my gosh.
Shaley.
Is MySpace even a thing still?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
I haven't logged in.
Yeah. So
15
even if there was,
Even
at
if
what
there
point,
was.
you just decided I'm no longer logging in? That's crazy to to me that's crazy to think. At some point you literally put down MySpace and
Yes.
you've never gone back. It's the same thing, not to get too far off topic, but you're always told or not always told, but one of the most resonating social media posts that I saw was at one point your parents put you down and they never picked you back up. Think about that.
Right.
Think about
That's
how
right.
deep that is. They have never picked you back up. So I guess it's the same thing with MySpace. Like you said, I haven't logged in 15 years.
Yeah. No, and it's interesting that going through that and going through that time and that transition. I of course have been around before the internet, but I remember the first time I logged on to the internet. I had to go up to a local school that had this thing called the internet, and went up there and logged in at the school and read news, and it was the most bizarre thing. And so MySpace wasn't too long after that. And then when everything was on MySpace, all the flyers for the events, everything went up there, then people started saying, well, nobody goes to MySpace anymore. People are using Twitter. And it's Twitter? What is Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone was using Twitter, and then Facebook happened. And it just revolutionized everything. Facebook just revolutionized everything. And it was a real interesting transition to go through, because eventually nobody talks about MySpace. And those icons that you put at the bottom of the websites, follow us on whatever, pretty soon MySpace just stopped appearing. And it was interesting.
Well, and it was funny, I saw this post that someone was talking about Mark Zuckerberg, because of everything that's going on with Twitter right now.
Yeah.
And here we are going down social media instead of talking about fashion, but that they think that Mark Zuckerberg outright said, I feel I can make a Twitter equivalent. because of everything that's going on with Twitter right now. So I'll be interested to see, like, is Twitter going to fall off the face of the earth? And everyone's been saying it is ever since, like, you're paying for blue check marks and all of this stuff. So
interesting.
I'll be interested to see. Or, like, is Facebook or Instagram going to roll out with their own version? I doubt it, but their own version of, like, pay to play. Like, oh, you want to be verified? Okay.
Instagram is doing that.
Are they?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
So that tells you, like,
yeah, you're out of date.
How far out of it? See, Shaley. I'm glad we keep Shaley around. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about, and I think this would be interesting to hear both of your guys' perspectives, and Phil, I kind of know yours, but since this isn't not necessarily a big themed episode, we had talked about it at FGI. That was the big focal point of it, but was sustainability and fashion.
Oh,
and it. Do you not want to talk about this?
No. We'll talk about sustainability.
But
that's fine.
I think it would be really interesting to hear because I think, Shaley, we were talking ideologies or politics. I think this would be something really cool to hear both of your thoughts on, like, the sustainability of fashion or even fast fashion, and kind of where we are right now with that because there's an interesting turn.
Right, and to just to flesh that out a little bit, this was the 2023 Trends presentation.
Communique.
Oh, that's right, the Communique, which
Yeah.
took the place of Trends presentation from the Fashion Group International of Kansas City, a great nonprofit industry group here in Kansas City. And so we were down at which hotel was it?
Don't ask me.
23.
It was at a hotel, really nice
it was
hotel.
A really nice hotel here in Kansas City.
So
it was very nice, wonderful evening.
Yeah, so like one of the big things of the night was like sustainability, eliminating fast fashion, the Sheins of the world or the Temus, and replacing them with redoing fabrics, upscaling fabrics, different things of that sort. What does that mean to you? And maybe you're not on the sustainability train, and
I am.
Not to bash people if you're not, but like maybe that's so.
Yeah.
I want to hear about that.
So in every single class that I take in Mizzou's textile program, we touch about sustainability because it's really important in the fashion industry right now. And it's something that I'm working on personally every day. I try to make decisions for dressing more sustainably. I will say that I'm definitely not the pro. Like I'm guilty of the occasional, indulgence in fast fashion. But I try my best. I really do. It's hard to balance between like being a consumer and like knowing that you could be buying more sustainable options, but it is true that those are more expensive. So it's hard like from the consumer standpoint because you don't have all the resources to buy the most sustainable options. But that's the draw of fast fashion. That's how they draw you in with the low prices. So it's hard for me to like really judge people who do indulge in the cheaper options because what can you do? Like that's their target audience. They're trying to sell you at that price point. So it's something that I try to do better with every single day, but nobody's perfect, but I'm definitely working on it.
Yeah.
It's it is definitely worthy of a podcast episode or two to actually dissect it and to explore the topic.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, one of the things, not to whip out my phone in the middle of this, but it's funny that we were sitting here and I get this news notification, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with fast fashion, so to speak. But this is something I've wanted to incorporate into the podcast, and now that we're several episodes in, it's something that I think it's another way for us to engage with all of our listeners, is talking about some of the relevant talking points, not just in Kansas City Fashion Week, but then also what's going on.
All right.
And there was this article published today by CNN that there's a growing number of sports bras, shirts, leggings, and leggings that contain high levels of toxic chemicals. So I'll be interested to see kind of what the fallout of this is, because when you think about it, this is some of the stuff that it impacts everyone. Specifically like, sports bras and leggings, right? That's something that I feel like is a staple in every female, everyone's closet, so to speak. So I'll be interested to see, what the fallout of this is, because it doesn't look like it's any specific, like brand.
And
Right.
that may be beyond sustainability to just literally dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's saying sports bras, and I'm guessing it's referring to those materials made with elastic and synthetic fibers. I think that's why some people really have a personal like preference for organic materials and organic fibers in their clothing, going for cottons and unbleached and all this stuff. And personally, that's not something I value in my clothing. But this just shows why, it is important for some people, and, things can go wrong in factories. There's all sorts of different procedures for dyeing and creating materials. So it doesn't surprise me that things can go wrong.
And the entire sustainability goal, as worthy as it is, it's interesting. Shaley was talking about her views of sustainability from a consumer standpoint. In Fashion Week for the last 13 years, I've been looking at that issue not from a consumer standpoint, but from a garment manufacturing standpoint, and a entrepreneurial startup design business standpoint, fashion design business standpoint. And you hear such varying views of it. I mean, we work with fashion designers that literally take out or max out their credit cards just to afford the garment and the material that they use to make their looks in order to sell them to make the next line, so that they can continue their business. And it's difficult to have a sustainability conversation with a designer that is just getting started, understanding that they may not even be able to get started if they have to be 100% sustainable fashion. So it's such an interesting issue that I do think that the Fashion Hive podcast is a great place to have people on to discuss that.
Well, and the first one that came to mind was Reduce. Those two, you want to talk about committed to where they're going. Every single line that they do is like thrift store bought, and I could be wrong, and that's where we should allow them, give them an opportunity to come on here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But for them to talk about why they do what they do, but again, like I was saying, is their brand is all thrift store, how they find those fabrics that they use. So I'd be really interested to see kind of where they where they dive into it and where they stand on sustainability. So
right.
Yeah.
And at the communique.
The
communique.
That's such a fun word to say.
Trends. At the communique, it was interesting that we actually saw looks from New York Fashion Week with recycled denim, distressed denim, and that's a denim, sustainable fashion without discussing recycled denim is just extremely difficult.
So not to go full circle here, but what did you see in New York in terms of trends? Yes, we could talk about the FGI and the communique, but what did you see out there? Is there anything different that maybe isn't yet on the horizon, or that's on the horizon here, but it's landed there already?
Well, New York is very, I don't know. There's so many different styles and trends that I could see. In the Midwest, things are a lot more casual. But I've also noticed that starting to change as well. And, the Midwest is trying to keep up with everything going on. I think everywhere is trying to keep up with the latest thing. So it's really cool, but we did have to like kind of take note of trends we were seeing as part of like our project for the class. This summer, like pink and green are like crazy popular. Like your bright neons are super hot this summer. Fringe, feathers, all these like extra really bold accents and accessories and colors are like crazy popular this year, which is great news for me because I love all of those things.
That's great news for all of us, sisters. Fringe, feathers, bright neons.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I know
gonna
exactly.
Make my shopping list.
Yeah,
right?
I know exactly what I'm gonna see both of you wearing next season.
That's right. All about the fringe and the feathers.
Yeah.
I've already reached out to some designers to see if they can make a couple of looks for me, so I don't want to just completely blow up their plans because I've already talked with them. So as fashion forward, using air quotes there, that I am, which is not at all, I think I'll stay just kind of in my own realm and do what I want to do. But I'd love to see Phil rock some fringe.
Oh yeah, fringe. I'm all about the fringe.
What do you think the reaction would be if you walked into a courtroom with fringe on?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Would you just be laughed out of the courtroom?
I honestly think that if I walked into a courtroom with fringe, the judge would call me up to the bench and ask me what I'm doing, what kind of show I was trying to put on. I really think that would happen.
Interesting.
Yeah, there is no. I mean, one of my favorite lawyer movies is My Cousin Vinny because it's not meant to be taken seriously. But when My Cousin Vinny walks in with the burgundy tuxedo from 1977 era, and he goes and sits down at the table, and the judge says, "Are you mocking me?" No, judges would be more strict than that. I mean, if somebody walked in with fringe, the judge would call him up to the bench.
Yeah, or like in any old iron suit. Could you imagine that with the sequins?
And, that's kind of wearing Andrew Clancy would any old iron jacket. Depends on what the sequins is. I would not wear a sequins. But there are other attorneys who could get by with it where the judges wouldn't.
Really?
Wouldn't say anything, probably.
Wow.
Is it the sequins with all the with all the fucks on it, or is it the sequins without? Like what could he?
A sequins without.
Okay.
But yeah, and if we gave Andrew Clancy a goal, it's like, okay, make something that an attorney could wear in court and not get kicked out of the courtroom. I bet he could do it.
Yeah. So one of the things you just kind of teed something up in my mind here is like almost like a designer challenge of like,
yeah, there you go.
Maybe making something like making a challenge through Fashion Week, and put it out to all of our designers and say, here's something that we're looking for. And but think about that. It's like, gosh dang it, like the cooking shows. Where someone's from the South and then someone's from the West and someone's from New York, and then they all have their own different idea of what like chicken and waffles is.
Yeah.
I would love to see a flavor of like everyone make a, this year you're making a size 48 blazer or, a blazer for men. And then to compare that, then you're also going to do this, I think that would be really cool. Maybe that's something that we try and incorporate.
Have you ever heard of Project Runway?
Yes.
Because I'm going to blow your mind.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's true. But I'm saying like locally, I think that would be really cool. But yes, you're 100% spot on there. I think that would be interesting. Shaley and I also have a wonderful idea, and we'll leak it out here now. Should I or should I?
You should.
Okay. So Shaley and I have an idea that we're going to do an award show on the Fashion Hive, or on the Fashion Hive platform.
All right.
So we're going to, sustainability should be one of them. That would be really cool that we could sit down and talk with the designers. But I think it also gives an opportunity for there to be buy-in with engagement with our listeners and for those who go to the shows. But then also for us to have our own little say in things as well.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it'll be a little bit of interesting dynamics. So maybe we could make a dinner communique out of it.
There, that's
I don't even
That'd
know
be
what
good.
this word means that they're talking about, but
You're like, shut up if I hear it one more time. So Phil, you brought up movies a lot. Are you a big movie person?
I'm a big movie person.
Okay.
That's my hobby. I
Interesting.
actually have a friend who is in the movie theater business, and so he's always calling, or I'm calling him and going to a movie, and I never even know what it is till I show up at the theater, which is a lot of fun.
That is
Really?
fun.
Yeah, because I see everything that I would normally not see. And I mean, whether it's a Captain Marvel movie or a love story or whatever, I wouldn't typically go.
Yeah.
But I'm invited, and I don't know what movie I'm going to see till I show up, and so it's great.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't know
so I
this,
do a lot of movies.
but I actually just applied for a job at a movie theater.
Did you really?
Yeah, in Columbia, because I love movies so much. I mean, that's part of why I want to be a red carpet reporter, because I want to, learn more about, the movies, and I want to be there at the premieres, and that's just kind of like my dream, and I love movies so much. I have a collection of every movie ticket I've ever seen since seventh grade. It is, it's about this high, big old stack of movie tickets, but I save every single one.
So you're going to work in a movie theater, and after everybody gets out of their movie, they're going to walk past you, and you're going to stand there, and you're going to say, "Stop." And you're going to have a microphone, and you're going to say, "What did you think of the movie? Give me a review."
That would be.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to do?
Well, I mean, you just gave me a great idea.
Yeah,
So.
I was
that's
gonna
not the
say-
red carpet.
Think about that though. Like that'd be a really cool like social media thing to do. Like that could be your own brand of like social
You know,
media,
that
like
is
and
so
start your
true.
own thing. Like everyone hears about like Rotten Tomatoes or but like let's just hear from random so and so, not a collective. I don't want to hear about what the masses have to say. I want to hear about what Joe Smith has to say about this movie. Like,
Yeah.
The Harper scale.
ooh,
The Harper scale.
Wow. Look at them over here, like, building my brand for me.
That's right. That's good.
Oh, so between Canva and between the Harper scale, you're set.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Love it. So do you have a favorite movie of all time?
That's just such a hard question to answer, and I think about it every day. But my favorite movie about fashion, at least, is Cruella.
Okay. Way to bring it
yeah.
back to fashion.
Yeah,
Love that.
I love that movie so much because, well, it's based on one of my childhood favorite movies, and
Which was what?
101 Dalmatians.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, duh.
sorry.
That's one of those that he never watched, but that was before his friend was in the movies.
They didn't cover that on MySpace. So
Ah.
Okay. Well, I'm also a big fan of
Shade.
Emma Stone. And the movie really kind of brings together everything that I love about fashion, and even like fashion reporting is a huge element in that movie. And like revenge is also a big theme in that movie, which I think is super fun. And you can't.
Hang on. It is super fun to watch a movie about revenge, or revenge is super fun?
Both.
Oh, okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Oh, that's-
Interesting.
My life isn't full of too much drama, so if I don't have my own personal plots for revenge going on at the time, I can get that rush from this movie.
That's good.
Oh my goodness.
And you can't talk about this movie without like mentioning the looks in the movie itself, because whenever Cruella pulls off in a garbage truck and her dress like unrolls from like piles of garbage into like 100-foot long train of all these dresses sewn together. I don't know. It was just the coolest thing. Like every single look that was revealed in that movie, I was just like amazed by their costume designer.
That's awesome.
Did you see it at the theater?
Oh yes, of course, in 3D.
3D?
Well, probably. I always see movies in 3D if there's an option.
That's awesome. So you were like, yep.
Yep.
You could see the dress.
Oh
like,
yeah, all the details.
It was there. It was
Yeah.
in your face, literally.
Well, and the cinematography in that movie is so cool. Like the filming style, like the camera movements. Like I just thought it was so cool and like true Disney style. But but very fun. Like, I could go on about that movie for hours, but I won't. So you guys can talk about your favorite movies now. I'm cutting myself
Harper scale.
off.
Harper scale. What is it? 1 to 10.
Oh gosh.
It's a 10, right?
Yeah, I'll go with a 10 for that
Okay.
one.
Wow.
That one can get a 10.
Okay.
Wow.
How many movies altogether, like give or take, just throwing out a random, like, have a 10 in your book?
I'll set a 5 movie limit.
Ooh. Okay.
Just kidding. This is all subject to change based on my feelings and my mood.
So here in a couple years, we got to like start writing down things, and we got to go, okay,
Yes.
Cruella's still a 10.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Interesting. Santos, what about you? You a movie guy?
No.
No?
It's funny you asked about, like, in your old office, what was their thoughts on Fashion Week? They didn't care about that as much as they cared about the fact that I didn't watch TV or movies.
You don't watch TV or movies?
Not,
So what do you
hold
do?
up. It's not that I don't watch it. I'm a big sports person. So, like, yes, I could be watching TV, watching literally the TV, but that's because I'm watching sports. Football, baseball, basketball. I'm not a soccer fan. Sorry. But no, I mean, to bring it back to your question, I'm not a big movie person either. I don't know.
Did you see Cruella?
I did not. And I don't think, like, legitimately, and I'm going to get crucified for this too, I don't think I've ever seen 101 Dalmatians. But I say that because I haven't seen a lot of Disney movies. I haven't seen a lot of Pixar
Really?
movies. Like, back in the day, it used to be like Monsters Inc. on repeat. Like, that was my show, and movie, and like Toy Stories.
Yeah.
I could get behind those, but like if you're like Aladdin, I'm good. I'll pass. Monsters Inc. though, for the 4th time this week, yes.
Is that a Disney? Monsters Inc.? Do you have something against Disney?
No, I watched.
No?
I watched it. I've been to Disneyland, whatever's in California. I've been there.
Disneyland. Okay.
Yeah, nothing
Just
against
wondering.
Disney. So look at you trying to firebrand politics, Phil.
I'm just asking. Have you seen any movie related to the fashion industry?
Yeah. So one of the when Eleni and I decided that we were going to, or that Eleni was going to start participating in Fashion Week, Audra, her mom, had made the elective decision that Eleni was going to watch Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, she had never seen it before.
Yeah, Eleni had never seen it. Well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Eleni.
Yeah.
But I think it was either rewatch it or you're watching it for the first time. So with that, I wound up watching it just because, like, at this point, apparently I have to watch it if it's...
And you hadn't seen it before?
I had not, no.
Wow.
But I will say, you were talking about Emma Stone, like Meryl Streep. She was a good one. I can totally get behind her as probably...
Miranda Priestley.
Really?
That was her name.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
Devil
I
Wears Prada.
couldn't tell you that. But Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep did a great job in Devil Wears Prada. Love that movie. I would actually say that's probably top 15 movies for me. But that's because I've probably only watched 15 movies in my life. So,
God,
like
that is so sad.
At this point, yeah, you're talking about 3D, and I'm like 2D, 3D. I what's the one that like sprays water at mist?
4D.
4D. Okay, yeah, no. Again, I don't think I know I've never seen a movie in 4D.
I have.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Don't they diffuse like aromas too?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested to see like this, and maybe here Project Runway is a perfect example when you corrected me on it earlier, but like imagine redoing a fashion movie 4D style. It would be hard because like you're not getting like spit takes or like things like that, but like would you be able, like, would they diffuse, like, if you're going into a fabric store, like a leather smell or different things like that? Like, I'd be interested to see.
That would be interesting for sure.
Yeah. So maybe that's something that you can work on. We're just coming up with all these things. Like, sorry guys, this is Shaley's last episode because she's going to be so busy doing everything else that Phil and I want her to do.
That's right.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Doesn't that sound exciting to smell leather?
I love the smell
yes.
of leather.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I could totally get behind, like, I have all the I cannot talk, candles of like leather and tobacco, leather and teak wood, and yeah. I'm a big Bath and Body Works fan.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
that should get its own podcast, its own episode.
Are you?
Yeah.
Do you like Bath and Body Works?
I do, but I burn more incense than candles.
Okay.
So, spending like $25 on a candle is just not my thing. I'd rather buy like a $3 candle because I probably already have a candle that I still haven't burned yet.
Okay. I have a
Yeah.
question. Does fragrant fate? Okay. It's time to wrap this up because I'm like slurring words now. Apparently, you're having a stroke over here. Does fragrance count as part of your fashion? I had a whole on argument with someone earlier this week on this, so I want to hear your guys' perspective before I give you mine.
I'm gonna go with yes, because you can't see it, but so I mean, I don't know. I guess it's hard for me to say if it would be fashion or not, but I do think it completes your ensemble before you go outside. You can't, like, I don't know. It just adds something. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd say yes, but I could probably be convinced otherwise.
Okay.
Well, I'm not the one to convince you one way or the other.
What do you think?
Well, when I was no, this was we had Dior, the local Dior, one of the local Dior salons as a sponsor like 5 or 6 years ago, and they had just come out with a new fragrance called Savage.
Okay.
Dior, Johnny Depp.
Oh, Sauvage?
Sauvage. Yeah, and so they actually presented me with a big bottle of Sauvage. I mean, it's huge. It's probably 10 ounces. I don't know what that would cost now, $300 or so. So I have one of those sitting in my bedroom at home, but I've never used it.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe I should put it on Facebook Marketplace or something.
Yeah, I'm a big cologne person. Love, love, love.
Do you like Sauvage?
I don't know if I've ever. I'll come
Oh,
over
it's
and test it
fancy.
out. Yeah,
It's fancy.
Well, so here is my thought process. If like cosmetics, makeup, all of that, if that counts as fashion, or your fashion vibe, your fashion, your aesthetic, then 100% the fragrance goes with it.
I agree.
That's kind of where I fell on it, and this person was like, no, because I could wear, a polo cologne to the gym, and I could wear the same polo cologne to a date. Okay.
They're probably
Yeah.
wearing the same underwear too, so I
Ooh.
can't. You can't listen to people like that too closely.
Well, there it is. Crucifixion by Shaley.
We know how Shaley feels.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, that's really all I had, so
Well, this caught us up.
we're here.
Yeah.
We've made it.
Another
For
great
sure.
episode.
Yes. Yeah.
You all are interesting people.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome. All right.
Pleasure.